much more engaging, much better experience. And I really want to know more about you. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, well, we're officially friends now since I drove all the way of 30 minutes to get here. And so now you can drop the ooh. I like the ooh when it's written down, but you can just call me Josh.
I like that. Thank you.
So on the quick macro level, I am a marketer and I'm a real estate investor. And actually those terms are kind of what I have embraced only in the last few years. So I've kind of done way too many things. I've worked in higher education in another state, started a CrossFit gym, a clothing brand, and different things. So now I'm finally feeling, now in my mid-30s, that I'm honing in on what I actually like and what I think works for me.
Very cool. So first thing I want to say is you look fit, which is good news. When I shook your hand, I was like, this is a strong hand. This is a good thing. Let's talk about, you mentioned the CrossFit gym. People are like health nuts in the Bay Area, which is a good thing, I think. I think, having a fit body relates to the mind and it carries over. How was it like having a CrossFit gym, being around individuals that are that type of mindset? And give me some maybe experiences in running a CrossFit gym, and was it profitable? Not, go into as much as you want. It's kind of interesting.
So the context for that is my entire life I did Taekwondo as a kid. So from 4 to 22, Taekwondo, and then in college I started to dive into MMA.
Really?
And so I trained at AKA back in, 2000 and mid-2000s.
Okay.
And
AKA is a hell of a gym.
It was.
In San Jose? Or?
Yes,
okay.
in San Jose.
Okay.
And so that was a blast.
Yeah.
I remember doing smokers and things like that.
Yeah.
And then at that time when I was going through college, I wanted to get into law enforcement.
Okay.
So when I finished college, there was a hiring freeze all across the state.
Okay.
And my parents at the time did not want me to go into law enforcement.
Yeah, well, now they're probably like, thank God you didn't.
And so my mom's, I guess, I don't know, bribe or incentive is probably the better word to say it. She said, I will pay for half a grad school if you go to grad school.
Okay.
And I said, I will take you up on that.
Okay.
But you didn't tell me where. And so then I went to University of Hawaii for my master's.
Which is a beautiful place.
And that's where I found CrossFit.
Okay.
I needed to train, but at that time, I didn't want to get hit in the head anymore.
Sure.
CrossFit was the next best thing to have that same level of intensity.
Okay.
And not end up with black eyes for your first day of class.
Or your body just hating you the next morning.
If you get competitive in CrossFit, and anyone who is competitive in CrossFit,
it will hate you.
It will. But at least your shins don't balloon up to the size of whatever they do. So,
MMA is such a, so I've done, first of all, I think MMA is the superior martial arts. And when I say MMA, I'm talking like the complete complexity of wrestling, jiu-jitsu, striking, which is basically Muay Thai with grappling, right? In some sense, it was what I would define as MMA. And of course, there's, I'm not the pro at it. But I think that's the most superior. Why didn't you try something like jiu-jitsu to not have maybe your black eyes? Because in MMA, you're going to get black eyes. And I've tried Krav Maga, and there was a lot of contact in it, but it's more self-defense. It's not like you're in a 5-minute bout. It's more in like you're in a 30-second potential deadly situation. You got to get the hell out of the room. But sometimes they would kick me in my nuts or in my stomach, and it would hurt in these trainings that we would do. Yeah. So I can imagine. Why not try jiu-jitsu instead of CrossFit, let's say? So
I was doing jiu-jitsu at the same time while I was at AKA.
Oh, okay.
And I was doing it at Heroes, and I did it for a couple years.
Okay.
And for me, I did martial arts my entire life.
Okay.
And so it was kind of just a stimulus change for me.
I see.
You
were over it a little bit.
Yeah. I did it for 18 years at some capacity.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I really want to get strong. And so I had some weightlifting goals, and eventually it turned into, taking my management of martial arts schools from college into a buddy saying, hey, you kind of know how to run this sort of business.
So cool.
I have some capital, and I'm, at this point, I'm still taking student loans because I got another half of the school to pay for.
Yeah.
I said, I have no money, but I have ran a 250-person martial arts school before.
That's crazy.
Systems are the same.
Yeah.
And he
Why
said,
not do it for myself?
And he said, if I front the capital, can you give me the systems?
Yeah.
Sure. And so that was kind of the start of my entrepreneurial journey.
Where was this CrossFit gym at? Was it in the Bay Area?
No, this was in Honolulu.
In Honolulu. Okay, sorry. And how did that? What happened with that business? Did it run well? Did you ultimately say this is not for me, or?
Yeah, and now we're opening a different can of worms here.
Yeah, this happens. I'm sorry.
So no, that's okay. So he was in the military.
Yeah.
And at the time, we were doing long workouts on the weekends. And so this one particular workout, actually, where we're talking about business ideas, was a 10-mile run with then 150 burpee pull-ups afterwards.
Oof.
So we have a long time to talk to each other. We're still talking the entire way, right? So we're not going very hard.
Okay.
And so we're talking about this idea.
When you said 10-mile run, I that's not for me.
And I can't do that now. This is 7, 8 years ago, right? So I'm less fit than I was then, for sure.
Of course.
But at that time, he said, great, let's open this business now. And that was the first initial conversation. And so he said, all right, we're both single at the time. For the next, twice a week, let's go take out other coaches, other gym owners, just to figure out how they're doing it. And so we did. And actually, one of the meetings spun out to both of us are from the mainland, from the continental US. And at that time, I was buying everything. When you go to Hawaii, you want to buy everything that says Hawaii High, has a shaka on it.
So funny. You're part of this community, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I am, but I'm still the outsider, right? Because I'm from here. So it's an interesting thing. And at that time, there was no identifier for people who did CrossFit in Hawaii. There was no Hawaii's fitness brand.
Really?
And so
that's actually a big market.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And so when we were taking out the gym owner, and I said, hey, you guys should really make a shirt that says shakas and snatches.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, man, that's stupid. Why the hell would I do that? And the next day, my buddy texted me, we're at the meeting together, and he goes, I'll front the money. You want to make some shirts too?
That's funny.
And so in the span of 2 weeks, we started a clothing brand and a CrossFit gym idea. The clothing brand launched first, and then 6 months later, the CrossFit gym launched.
That's awesome. So what happened with this CrossFit gym or the clothing brand? Because Hawaiians are, like you said, they're very passionate about something that you bring to the table, and they do have a big following. And I've seen very cool clothing when we would travel to Hawaii on vacation and so forth. They have like their own niche market, I would say.
Yeah.
It's like they're not about the big brand that say Adidas on their plastered shirt all day. They want their own little local feel vibe or whatever, right?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it made it a little bit easier. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of Asians in Hawaii as well.
Sure.
And so we kind of fit the transplant demographic.
I see.
And then I also lived there for a number of years, so I got to really understand and respect the culture. And I wasn't trying to say, I am making this for Hawaiians.
Okay, so you had to watch that. So if you're, so what Josh here is saying is, even though he lived there, he didn't want to come in kind of as I'm the authentic Hawaiian type.
No, got it. The native Hawaiian community is very strong, and it's a whole nother, that is something that I never ever touched. But going into the CrossFit gym, the plan was to always open the CrossFit gym in the Bay Area.
Okay.
We had a third business partner that actually he always wanted to open a gym with. I was kind of that last piece of, well, who's actually done something like this before?
Yeah.
And she at that time was living in San Jose. I'm from the Bay Area. And I said, cool, I'm going to finish my master's degree in 8 months anyways. Let's just I'll finish the degree out. And you're going out of the military at the end of the year too. This is great timing. Let's just find a spot out there. And then she can start looking for places. And so the plan was, can we start and open up the gym while both of us are still finishing up in Hawaii and then eventually move out there?
Okay.
And the clothing brand was still going to be based in Honolulu, though.
Okay.
And we would
was it going to still have like a Honolulu vibe CrossFit out here, like maybe the same name, or is it going to be French? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then at that time, now we're 6 months into running the clothing brand. Yeah. And we've gotten, it's really interesting is because there was no identifier, it made it slightly easier to market.
Okay.
Because now when influencer marketing just started to pick up.
Which, got huge. I mean, now it's
number
everything. One.
Yeah.
Marketing, like brand ambassadors are the marketing trend. But go ahead, sorry.
No, so if you remember in 2013, your Instagram account looked like your vacation pictures with the lo-fi filter is probably what you put on. Yeah. And it was very easy for us to say, hey, we're a brand from Hawaii. Yeah. Let me send you a shirt, send you some coffee from here.
And they'd be so all for it.
Yeah, I get a care package from Hawaii. Totally. Yeah. And then now you have this person who has 20,000 followers, were a lot back then.
Yep.
I'll take a picture of me working out with the shirt.
Yeah.
And that's how we organically grew fast, was just being the only one, the first one to market in that region.
It's awesome.
And then we opened up the gym. After that, a few months later, we did have some disagreements.
Okay.
And so he ended up taking the gym. I ended up taking the clothing brand. I then, a few months later, moved back to Hawaii for a few more years to run that through.
Okay.
And
Ultimately?
I'm back here now, right?
Okay, yeah.
And so we did eventually break down the clothing brand. I think my lessons learned.
That's what I was going to ask you because, and sorry to interrupt
No.
you. Guys, I've had business partners in many businesses. It's a marriage. It's tough. It's not easy. And we're going to hear from Josh as some of his lessons learned right now, right? This is like, It's not easy. Would you agree with that?
Oh, totally. I mean, people change. People's goals change.
Their life changes.
Yeah.
They get married, remarried, move, whatever.
Divorced, whatever it could be.
Divorce is big.
And so as your personal relationships change, it does, like, you build it to eventually sell it or exit is what I've learned now.
Yeah.
And what I wish I did before, so I guess there's two lessons learned from owning a gym and owning a clothing brand. The lesson learned for me on owning the gym is that staffing is very hard.
Sure.
Especially when it comes to adult fitness.
Interesting. I would think with the staffing part, there's a company, Rogue Fitness. You know them. I mean, they're the ones supplying all the CrossFits, right? They have the CrossFit Games and all this. And they expanded so quick. I was like, the staffing is hard in the Bay Area, period. Let's say out here. It's just, I'm not even going to go into that because it gets political. But when it's Rogue Fitness, and I've seen them expand so much, I was like, how are they able to staff so much? It's because I always thought that the mindset of the fitness individual is so much greater, or they're like, let's get it done. Let's go extra push-ups. Well, I'll work harder, this and that. Is that not the case?
So if you take Rogue's not in the coaching
Ohio.
business.
Yeah.
They're in the manufacturing equipment business, which especially if they're manufacturing from